Hey everyone, it's nice to be back with you this week. I want to give a big welcome to anyone who's new to me. My name is Brentan, and today we're going to do a practice to develop our hip extension. So we know from last week, hip flexion is belly and thighs moving closer together. Now we're going to do this one, belly and thighs moving away from each other. So when you're ready, go ahead, roll out your yoga mat. Let's get started at the very top, standing warm up. We already know that the weight-bearing axis of our body goes from outer hip to outer knee to outer foot. So we look down, we see if that's true. We do a couple of deep knee bends here just to ensure like everything's tracking neutral, right? Knees over second toes, hip bones in line with that. As you train your legs to straighten and bend for you, you're training your legs' ability to work evenly through the inner track of the leg and through the outer track of the leg. And as you do these deep knee bends, you're kind of working out through some ankle mobility, you're working out through some hip mobility, just improving your ability to pay attention with accuracy to your body. So settling yourself in a nice upright position, I kind of always shake my little knees back into place because otherwise I find I'm jamming, right? Or like I'm setting myself up habitually, which is never good for any of us. So if I can just make sure that nothing is really habitual, I'm trying to make everything deliberate. I'm trying to make everything feel like it's working nice and good. The joints all feel well set. Maybe if you want, you can roll out through your shoulders a little bit or roll out through your neck or something. Oh. Beginning to deepen the breath in the torso. And so in order to extend our hips, our pelvis needs to be able to remain in neutral while the legs move behind. And so we need to be able to set the pelvis in neutral here. That's actually frontal hip bones kind of vertically in the body. The front panel of like the flesh in between the underwear creases is also kind of, up and down. Nothing feels like it's splashing forward. The tailbone's in neutral. And now we can even see, can I keep my pelvis in neutral and move everything above it? So maybe I'd spend my next few inhales to reach my arms and exhales to lower them on my side. Just taking real good care to keep my pelvis in neutral. And even for that matter, to keep my spine and my ribs in neutral so that where I'm getting this movement from is actually my arms, my armpits. Don't worry, we'll do a lot of this stuff in a couple of months. Making sure to really develop that upper body, but we need a good lower body. That's what we're doing now. Okay, so now arms down here. That should be sufficient. Let's bend the knees a little bit. Let's flex the pelvis or flex the hips a little bit. So can I flex my pelvis forward, backs of the legs lift and come up. And I want to see, can I create this from my pelvis, rolling over my thigh bones and my spine, remaining neutral or as neutral as I can feel it. You may want to go slower. You may not go down as far. Okay, and so then coming to a nice upright position, I just want to have us have felt that because we'll move now into working on some lunges. So that's one of the classes of poses that will work really well for our hip extension. So to build a nice lunge for us, we're going to keep the right foot under the body. I'm going to step the left foot back just a little bit with the heel lifted. And I'm going to take this time to get soft in all my leg joints and ensure, again, outer hip to outer knee down through outer ankle. Are my ankles weighted evenly? Are my feet weighted evenly? Both of them. Because now all of a sudden we're asking our front leg to flex and our back hip to extend. And then the legs need to be able to work evenly through that action. So there's quite a bit to pay attention to. And I think sometimes we just kind of like barrel on through hoping that we're doing it right. But there's a Probably not. Okay, so I want to feel myself like, can I do some pelvic movements here? Can I fold forward, draw underneath? Of course, I can always hold on to something for balance as well. And what we're trying to do is to secure the pelvis in the most upright position that we can. Most upright position where the feet are deliberate, the legs are deliberate up. And now it's here that I'm going to assess like how much space will my body let me have between my feet? So I'm going to flex the pelvis over the front leg, stretch my back leg back a little bit, maybe wiggle it back a little bit more. And I'm going to settle myself into an easy-ish lunge. Okay, so you modify like how bent your limbs are. I always like a bend into the back leg so it sweeps forward so the leg goes more to vertical. And we're gonna find that out from our hip extension in just a moment. So first I wanna fix my front leg. I want my foot pressing down, drawing up into the pelvis and really securing that side of the pelvis deliberately in place. There needs to be a lot of distance between the hip bone and the knee. Okay, hip bone and the knee, lots of space. Now I'm going to kind of come into that without letting my hip bone go more to my knee. So my hip bone still moves away, my knee goes more forward, my back knee's still bent. Okay, remember what we talked about, that hip extension, most people have 0 to 15 degrees. That's why we need to bend the knee and sweep it forward so the back leg gets more vertical. As the back leg gets more vertical, start to find your spine lifting up from your back knee, your spine lifting up from the back knee. Feel the frontal hip bone on the left side draw in, and as that happens, now the pelvis is in neutral, the thighs moving back away, and you should start to feel the front of that left hip sensationalize. That's what we're looking for. Step it forward. Roll out through your feet a little bit. We'll do this a couple of times, you guys, just so you know, like if you ever need to take a break, I'm pro breaks. So take a break, come back to it. We're not trying to overwork you or over fatigue you. So start in your modified lunge, your starter shape first, left foot forward, right foot back a little bit. This gives us time to feel the legs, to utilize them, to secure the pelvis in a neutral position, feel ourselves lifting back and up. And you can maybe even start to feel like this back leg is the extension leg. So eventually it's kind of like we're gonna set the front leg and kind of forget it because we want to feel more of what's going on through the line of the back leg. So from here, I'm gonna bend the legs a little bit. I'm gonna flex the pelvis forward. I'm gonna take my lunge to the depth that feels appropriate to me. Okay, so heel nice and lifted. Am I using my feet evenly, my legs evenly into my hips? Okay, as I sit down into that left leg, the hip needs to pull back away from the knee. So the pelvis is set evenly between the legs, hip bone to armpit, equidistant both sides. If you have a mirror, that's a perf. And I'm just this is balancy, so yes, I'm just kind of finding that. But now I'm gonna get a little bend in the back leg to make the thigh more vertical underneath me. And I'm gonna pull myself up and back over that line. And now that sensation, front of the hip and the thigh. Even if you wanted to add the arms, you could. You can play with some arms here too. And you want to feel the side waist lifting up to accept that offering. Front body drawing all the way back. Extension. Okay, let's bring ourselves forward. Roll it out a little bit. How you doing? I'm good. Okay, we're gonna go back to our lunge. On the right side, you can just go back to whatever version makes sense to you. Take some time to feel your legs working evenly. Your pelvis is set evenly. You feel the vertical back line of the body. Hands onto the waist. And here we can load it up a little bit more, keeping the pelvis stable. Maybe we can bend the back leg a little bit more and then lift. And so the front leg can also bend, but we'll just kind of go in and out a few times, adding some load, some variation. job, you guys. Come up, release it forward. Make sure you're taking deep breaths. Make sure you're checking in with your face. Like when you get tense, like does your forehead go in? Does your jaw tighten, your tongue, all of that kind of stuff. Let's go to the other side. So using the legs evenly, and all of this is trying to use the legs evenly. And so that's actually where it's like, it's better to be slow and precise than kind of quick and powerful. Because that power is not being generated by control. It's just being, when you're going fast, it's just being generated by momentum. So here we're looking for true power, which is control. And that's why we're gonna start to go up and down, working the legs evenly. And bring it in. Rolling out a little bit. Okay, let's feel the hip flexors stretch in. See, when you call hip extension, you can say I'm flexing I'm stretching my flexors. So you're stretching your opposite. So let's do this in a low lunge. So get your situation set up over here so that you can rest with your knees down. I always like padding, that's why I have this carpet down here, but you can always put like a blanket or something like that underneath the knees. I have this handy fireplace here, so I'm going to use this to just get up and give me some stability as I just kind of get up on my knees and then take the right foot forward. Okay. So from here, I need pelvis set evenly between the legs, not like this, okay? I'm getting vertical over the back leg. I'm getting completely vertical over the back leg. So it's almost like I'm genuflecting, like I'm gonna propose to someone rather than I'm lunging, right? And so I also wanna feel like sensitive-wise, like where my hip bones from hip bone to armpit should be even. I need to kind of move my left hip bone over actually. That actually stretches through the front of the left thigh. I can feel that already. And so this is what I'm interested in here. Power up through the back leg. So from here, I'm not going to move very far forward, but I'm gonna move forward from my pelvis, moving forward into the lunge just a little bit. It's gonna turn on my right buttocks muscles to kind of secure the pelvis. It's gonna move this back leg into a little bit deeper extension, but it's only extension if this hip bone is pulling up into the body. It's only extension if this hip bone, this left hip bone, is drawing into the body, and you'll feel that. Tailbone forward, left frontal hip bone into the body. Feel that line of energy. Lift up through your chest. Maybe lift your arms. Big, deep breaths. Good job. Release the hands. Pull your pelvis back to release that right foot back. Do something that feels good, especially if you have some sensitive knee stuff going on. It just gets so flavorful when we allow ourselves to kind of slow down, to make things less fancy, but to have them make more sense. That's what we're going for. Less fancy, more sense. That's what I'm about. Come on up. Take the left foot forward. Feet evenly. You can always like look back, try and just see what you're doing. A lot of yoga is just like, am I doing this? Am I doing what I think I'm doing? So getting myself vertically up over this back leg. Feeling where my hip bones are. If I had a mirror, I'd use it. But feeling where the hip bones are, they should be level. They should be level between the armpits. Getting myself up nice and vertical over the back leg. And like feeling that line of energy, right? And then just seeing if my body will give me like a couple of inches with my tailbone drawing forward, my frontal hip bone, my right frontal hip bone still drawing in, my leg pulling back away from it. Lifting up. The more lifted you are, you can see like that has an effect. You feel it right away, right? And then maybe arms lift. Good job, you guys. Let's take that down. Let's release back, knees down. Again, if you have any kind of sensitivities, maybe just coming down to a seat, maybe like butterflying the knees a little bit or like rolling them out. And it's here that let's actually roll over into a tabletop position. We haven't done to this point in the year so much weight bearing on the arms. That's really going to be something we focus more on in the next few months as we move up the body. So it's here that I just want to kind of say, let's find a position that we can work with, that will work for each one of us. So whether that's plank pose, you can press back. You can always do tabletop position, or you can do plank pose with your forearms on the ground. But just trying to not freak out, getting our face nice and soft, maybe wagging out through the legs, trying to feel the legs evenly out through the heels, drawing evenly into the hips. Can I not move my left leg or my hip and just lift my right foot off the ground? That's extension. Can I take that right foot back down? Can I not move my right leg or my pelvis or the rest of my body and just lift my left leg? That's harder. And down. Good. Let's relax out of that. Just take a break. Feel your arms a little bit. Shake it out. Can you do it one more time? So the point is, try to hold your whole body in a nice stable shape and just let that leg lift up and back behind you and just see how can you do that. Can you do that? Come on back. I'm going to say plank, but you do you. Okay, leave your left leg as it is, your pelvis as it is, lift your right leg and down. Leave your right leg as it is, your pelvis as it is, lift your left leg and down and relax. Good job, you guys. Thanks for playing. So lunges are one place where that hip extension shows up. Back bends are another place where the hip extension shows up. So the way that I'll offer us to do this will be flat on our tummies. Now, if being flat on your tummy doesn't work for you for some reason, what I might recommend is doing kind of working where we just were with lifting the legs up in your plank pose and actually repeat that for the duration of this time. So that might be even like 6 more reps of that. However long it really takes to move through this, because it's going to condition the same areas of the body for you, okay? So just with less variety. Come on down to your belly. Okay, so once we're on the floor, we need to be able to feel the front of our body really specifically, because we know that hip extension is the body in neutral while the leg moves away. So in order to feel this, I like to kind of squeeze my legs into my pelvis one at a time. We're going to take them hip width distance. We're going to make sure that they're neutrally rotated. That means the kneecaps pointing down. That never changes, I'll remind us. And if your toes can point them. If not, tucking is fine. So the first thing I need to do is I need to recruit my butt to ground my tailbone down towards the heels. And so I'm not clenching my bottom, because that's going to kind of do something that's going to make my pelvis and my legs go funky. So I need to just use it, like the powerhouses they are, to secure the pelvis and the tailbone down to the heels, okay? At the same time, I need to feel my lowest part of my abdomen draw in, my frontal hip bones draw in, my organs draw in to my body. Can you see? And so now I feel like I'm really pieced together well here. So from here, I'm just going to kind of stack my hands, rest my forehead, give my upper body like not that much work to do. Now, how can I not disturb any of this? I need to keep my abdomen drawing in. I need to keep my tailbone going down. And now I need to use the muscles on the backs of my legs, the hamstrings, the calf muscles, to lift my right foot and foreleg off the ground a few inches. Now, when this happens, invariably there will be some compensation. So I need to be really specific and honest about where that is. Recruit my abdomen, draw it in, frontal hip bone's in, tailbone draws back. I'm going to use those muscles to pick the leg up off the floor another few inches, right? So it's true hip extension. Again, it's not super dramatic, but I'm training the muscles on the backs of my legs to be able to create that action. So now, can I add my left leg in? And I need to use my inner thigh muscles to squeeze the legs toward each other so they continue to be in neutral, so kneecaps facing down, and I'm just using my hamstrings, my calves to squeeze and lift my legs up. Lift my legs up. Take the tailbone down. Keep the front body lifting. If you want to add an element of instability, start to move your front body. So like lengthen the arms out, maybe kind of roll around in the upper body. And all this stability is going to make it harder, much harder to hold all of this. See if you can be here for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good job, you guys. Let's rest. Can we do it again? Take the legs together. Okay, use your bottom muscles. Take the tailbone down. Draw the front body in. Frontal hip bones in. Okay, this time, let's start with the left leg. So can I use the muscles in the back of my leg to lift the foot and the foreleg off the ground a few inches? Can I recommit to the hip extension, the neutral of everything else, and then lift again? Can I add my right leg in? Keep the tailbone flowing back. Keep the front body drawing in. Keep lifting. Add instability in the upper body if you want a little bit more challenge here. Ooh. And then however you want to pull back from here, whatever makes sense, we can begin to pull ourselves all the way back to a seated position. And then if you're willing to play with me for one more sequence, let's get up. We'll do what we just did, lying down on our bellies, but we'll do it upright. So the first step to the process is, of course, me finding the vertical line of the body where the tailbone is, I talked about down to the heels, but it's not scooped under posteriorly. It's actually just at neutral. It's just that it takes a lot of effort for it to stay at neutral when we start moving the legs. And so we want to be prepared for that. So I need to use the buttocks to really secure it in neutral. I need to feel like this frontal hip bone is drawing up, because this drawing up and this thigh drawing down, that's two things moving away from each other. That's the stretch I'm looking for, right? So I need to be able to hold all of this really firmly, securely as I begin to come into balance. Point one of my toes that the knee needs to bend and just move the leg behind the body. Gonna get bouncy in the standing leg so I can feel myself evenly set. I'm gonna come back upright. I'm gonna recommit to frontal hip bones up, tailbone forward. Then I'm gonna use the muscle of the leg to draw the leg back. Now I'm gonna recruit even more from the hamstring. I'm gonna ask even more because I'm gonna see, can I curl and bend the foot close to the pelvis? And then lengthen. Hold on to the front of your pelvis there so you can make sure, and just do that 2 more times. Bending. Really enjoying that nice vertical line. Like remember, come back to center, but remember when we were doing our lunges and we were focusing on that back leg all the way up? It's the same thing here. So now when we take the other side, being able to feel it a little bit more sensitively as that leg goes back, frontal hip bones draw in, lengthening up. Okay, and I'm seeing what can I do to squeeze the hamstring, take the heel. Bonus points if I can keep my thigh bone stable, if I don't need to move my thigh for that. Oh, that's the good stuff. And then when you're ready, releasing that down. Good job. Thanks for playing so much today, you guys. When you're ready, go ahead and just come on down to a seat, however you want to get there. Oh, the squat feels nice. But also if you want to sit in a chair, that's fine too. And it's from here, no matter where we're sitting, sitting is a hip flexion position. So it should feel like a welcome relief from the hip extension. And so maybe rolling around in the upper body a little bit. If you're sitting cross-legged and you kind of lean forward, you can even stop in any one of those areas if you feel like you're really kind of feeling some nice sensation. So you can see when we work on hip extension, it's not just like stretching of the front leg. A lot of it is strengthening the back of the leg to be able to create that action in the first place. And so I think, from our culture, we spend all day sitting. And then if we go to yoga class, we're really focused on the stretching aspect. We're like, oh, I've been sitting, I've been closed in, I've been short all day long. I need to get long and stretched out. But just because you're sitting doesn't mean your muscles are getting short. What your muscles actually need is activation. They need load, they need variation. And so I think one of the biggest things that we're doing here is it's not just that we're creating space for these joint positions to be available to us, but we're creating strength in the muscles that are supposed to be able to create those joint actions in the first place. So that's why with extension, you feel like, wow, I'm really strengthening the back of the leg and I'm stretching the front of the leg. And then with flexion, the roles are switched and you feel like I'm really stretching the back of the leg and training the front of the leg. So then next week, we're going to switch into rotation. We're going to do 2 classes back to back, one for external rotation, one for internal rotation. Then we'll move on to abduction and adduction to complete our hip portfolio. My hope is that by the end of this, you'll have kind of a better sense of like what work do you really need to pay attention to in yoga class. Because the teacher's there, yes, but they're teaching to a group. And, when they're teaching, they're looking for who's in an unsafe position. It's not realistic to expect our group fitness instructors to be able to individually prescribe work to us. That's our job as movers, as people who have bodies. So my hope is that this program is helping you feel a little bit more secure in taking that role on and stepping into that leadership position with yourself, and that your shit starts to work better and feel better. So thank you so much for joining. If you want to support our ability to make these videos and move a little bit closer to us, the best way to do that is to join us on Patreon for $1 or more a month. I'm gonna leave the link in the description below. But that's really the best place, for you to get closer to us, for us to become invested in you. And then you get to feel like you're contributing to our ability to do this. And of course, I'm sharing all my resources there, as you may know already, so you can also get your hands on that. So thanks again so much for joining. I'll see you right here next week.